Welcome to PraDa Law Live. I'm your host, Jackie Mendez. For today's show, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking criminal law. We have an excellent show lined up for you. Before I introduce our attorneys, I want to remind everybody that on the screen, there's a number for you to call. That number is 888-88-LEGAL. The consultation's free. The call is free. The show is live. You can call at any time. We're here. We're ready to answer any questions you may have. Let's go ahead and introduce our panel for today. We have Mike Haber.
Howdy.
We have the lovely Jennifer Pratt.
Thank you, Jackie. It's a pleasure to be here this evening.
And of course, Yoel Damas.
Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to just go ahead and say that number one more time, 888-88-LEGAL. You can call the number at any time during the show. Thank you so much. Yoel?
Thank you, Jackie. So today we're going to focus on criminal matters. And it's Friday, right before the weekend. People want to relax a little bit, have a few drinks, go out on the boat, maybe even take on some other activities. Point is, we're gonna talk about your rights with criminal attorney Haber here. We're gonna talk a little bit just catch-all with attorney Pratt, and just everything from accidents to anything that could happen on a weekend. But more importantly, I want to take on I don't know if the word is a taboo thing, but something that it's not necessarily legal in all states, and some states have it a little bit more legal than others. Some have it for medical purposes, some for recreation, and there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to this, and we want to focus today on medical marijuana.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
Yes,
no objection, counselor.
No objection at all.
All right, so I think there's a happy panel on this Friday. We're going to talk, about conflicts of law, where you stand between federal and state. What happens if you are able to legally have medical marijuana, but you want to have your firearm, or you have the ability to, or you have a firearms license? We're going to go into whether if you're using medical marijuana, could that be still considered a DUI or BUI? I mean, there's so much that we're gonna get it.
A bunch of topics, definitely.
Definitely. So to get it going,
okay.
Attorney Haber, medical marijuana, just the overall concept. How does it fall here in Florida, and just an overall, what medical marijuana is and how we got here.
So thanks for the subject lead, Yoel. Medical marijuana is it's an interesting subject. There are all sorts of tiers to it, but let me try and break it down this way. We have a system of government that has different layers of laws. Of course, the overarching law is the law of the land. That is the federal government, the United States Code. And pursuant to federal law, marijuana is a controlled substance. Not only is it a controlled substance, but it's a controlled substance with, quote, no medicinal value. So unlike, let's say, opium, where you get heroin or Percocets or Roxys or Oxys or fentanyl or all of these other types of opioids, marijuana has no medical value as far as the United States government is concerned. So there's no purpose to have it as a matter of federal law. So it doesn't matter where you are in the United States, and it doesn't matter what any state or municipality says. As far as the federal government is concerned, you are a criminal if you are in possession of marijuana. Period, paragraph.
But Attorney Haber, Florida doesn't agree.
Well, a lot of states don't agree. And so there are different levels as to how states disagree with the federal government and state law versus federal law conflicts. But you have to remember, at the end of the day, the supremacy clause of the Constitution of the United States says federal law trumps state law. So the feds really rule. The nice thing about the practical reality of our situation is that such an overwhelming percentage of the population has become less sensitive to marijuana as a controlled substance and has found bona fide uses, be it recreational or medicinal, that many states have now gone to the level of decriminalization, or whether it's recreational or just medicinal value. So Florida is one of those middle ground states. We're not quite like Colorado or California. We haven't made it recreational, where anybody can just go in and buy THC products, whether we're talking about leaf form smokable or gummy bears or...
Attorney Haber, but for medical purposes in Florida...
Yes, sir.
We're good.
Well, again, that's a sliding scale. So, you don't get to just say, well, I have a condition, so I want to use marijuana. There's a process. You have to be diagnosed by a doctor who has been recognized by the Florida Department of Health as being able to write marijuana prescriptions. You have to have a condition that meets the statutory criterion for a prescription to be written. You have to apply for a medical marijuana card from the Department of Health. You have to be issued that card.
Okay, so
you have to receive, let me keep going for one more second. I don't mean to cut you off, but you have to get a prescription by that doctor, and then you have to fill the prescription at a licensed dispensary. Okay. So there's a lot of steps towards medicinal.
But if all that happens, then it's legal.
If all that happens, then it's legal for the purpose that it has been prescribed for. So if I have a medical marijuana prescription, I can't invite my buddies over to come party with my medical marijuana any more than I could invite my I could do it, just not lawfully. But it would be the same as, let's say I had a prescription for Percocet or Xanax. I can't just have a Percocet party because my doctor wrote me a prescription.
Right. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, all our viewers, the number's on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. If you have any concerns, if you've had any cases due to medical marijuana and, getting into some kind of trouble, we can definitely help you.
Yeah, well, more than anything, this program is about information and it's about education. Yeah. Because there's just happens to be a lot of misconceptions, and one of them, Attorney Pratt, as Attorney Haber, and it makes sense. You can't just at a party pass around the joint if you have it, prescribed to you for medical purposes, right? I mean, it makes sense.
Absolutely, it totally makes sense. And I think that the intersection between medical marijuana as well is that I've seen it play out in some of our, for example, family cases where one parent accuses the other parent of using marijuana. If you have that medical marijuana card, it definitely makes the case much more defensible here in the state of Florida in proving to the judge that you are doing something that is lawful under the eyes of the law in the state of Florida.
But remember, with any prescription, whether it's marijuana or opioids or benzos or what have you, you're only entitled to use the substance to the extent that the prescription allows, right? So if you're overusing, or if you're using it as a ruse for recreational...
We got to go to a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We have a lot more medical marijuana to talk to you about, a lot more overarching issues related to it. We'll be right back.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size, we know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo? ¿Cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera de 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
And welcome back to PraDa Law Live. Once again, I'm your host, Jackie Mendez. Today's show is very interesting show. We've been talking about medical marijuana and your rights as a Florida citizen and as a United States citizen. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to go ahead and just take it over to Yoel to continue on the conversation.
Yep. So thank you, Jackie. So we've been speaking medical marijuana. Again, it's Friday, so we're going to discuss a little bit of everything that could possibly happen on a weekend. BUI, DUI, and anything else you might run into, including personal injury cases. But we're going to focus the first segment, and we feel there's just so much information. Attorney Haber comes with just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to medical marijuana and how it conflicts or flows sometimes with certain other laws, and how you could avoid pitfalls where you might end up in some deep trouble you didn't know about. Attorney Haber, gun sales are up. They're through the roof. More and more every day, people arming themselves. What happens if and again, going forward, we're just going to take a position that everyone we're talking about now, it's someone that went through that process you described in the first segment and has their medical marijuana card, because if they don't, they are breaking the law. And we are clear on that. And in fact, you're going to give a big pointer as to maybe certain people that should get their medical marijuana card, but I won't break that ice yet. Firearms, medical marijuana, do they conflict? Where are we at in the state of Florida with that?
So yes and no. Again, they do conflict as a matter of federal law, because if you are using marijuana, whether it's pursuant to a state license or not, you're committing a crime. You're using an illegal substance, and use of an illegal substance precludes you from using or possessing or owning or purchasing a firearm as a matter of federal law. Florida adopts a different position. In Florida, you can have a concealed weapons permit and a medical marijuana card. Now, you're still violating federal law, but Florida basically says, we don't care. In fact, we go so far as to say that our own Commissioner of Agriculture here in the state of Florida, Nikki Fried, has both. She has a medical marijuana card and a concealed weapons permit.
So technically, and federal officers don't usually walk around, don't go around pulling people over, but just as a hypothetical, if a federal officer were to pull you over, technically you'd be violating federal law.
Absolutely. And so I always tell people, look, if you're going to carry a gun and smoke dope or use your card, whether it's lawful or not, just stay off federal property, because federal cops generally don't bother you if you're not on federal property.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is that number on the screen. I want to remind you, 888-88-LEGAL. You can call at any time during the show. The show's live with any questions you may have.
Now, going into this segment, discussing the weekend, DUI, BUI, I mean, we usually take a general consensus here, Attorney Pratt, to what? Don't what?
Don't talk.
Don't talk. Don't
quiet. Ask
don't
for
blow.
Your attorney. Ask for your attorney. But just to go back real quick to his point, to Attorney Haber's point. I think that's a huge misconception. I know even some of my own friends and people that I've spoken to think that because they want to get a medical marijuana card or have a medical marijuana card, that they can't get their guns or keep their guns here in the state of Florida. So I think that's really important for a lot of people to know. I understand the intersection of still possibly violating the federal law, but that's really awesome information. As far as Friday, it's Friday. We're all casual today. And, yes, car accidents happen, boating accidents happen. Across the board, Attorney Haber has said it here before. I'll say it again. Don't talk to the police. There's absolutely no reason. Stay quiet, invoke your Fifth Amendment and invoke your Sixth Amendment. Ask for your attorney. That's your right. Yes, you may get arrested, but we'll deal with that in court. That's for another day. It'll be temporary. This too shall pass. If you open up your mouth, I may not be able to help you in the same way that if you stay quiet.
Giving away evidence.
Exactly, unnecessarily.
Now, Attorney Haber, DUI, BUI, medical marijuana, where does that interact? And we got about 1 minute before the commercial.
So the intersection is the same as anything else, because DUIs and BUIs have the same basic premise, and that is that you're under the influence. Either with alcohol, there's a level 0.08 of blood alcohol, but with controlled substances, the issue is whether or not you are impaired, whether your normal faculties are impaired. And that can happen on any controlled substance. So marijuana being a controlled substance, whether you have a prescription or not, you can still be BUI or DUI. The protocols are a little bit different, and it's not as easy as alcohol.
How can you tell? Like, what if I'm just a pro smoker, been smoking 20 years, and I can drive, I can do whatever? How could you tell that I'm intoxicated?
Well, cops can cops are pretty good at telling that people are intoxicated, and they're pretty good at alleging that people are intoxicated, whether they can tell or not. But there is no roadside test designed to tell you that you're on marijuana, although I will say that some states like Colorado do have a roadside enzyme exam that has a 4-hour look-back period. So, you know, whoever perfects that science is going to be our next billionaire.
Right, so basically the officers are just using their senses. If they smell marijuana in the vehicle.
You bring up a great point, Jackie, and I'd love to address that before we don't have time with the commercial coming up, but remind me and we'll come back to that because that's a great point.
888-88-LEGAL, give us a call. We're gonna have to go to commercial break, but we'll be right back with any questions you may have. Thank you.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size, we know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo? ¿Cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera de 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
Welcome back to PraDa Law Live, ladies and gentlemen. Before the break, I had asked Attorney Haber a question that, you know, most people want to know. When we're driving in a car and let's say we have marijuana and we get stopped by the cops, are the cops basically going by their senses nowadays? What is it that they're doing in order to
You're talking about, so the public understands it well. The question you're asking is, could they now use probable cause based on the smell?
Yeah.
Right? That's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
Are they going to be able to claim, like in the old days, hey, I smell marijuana, therefore
you're going to jail.
I proceeded, yeah. Attorney Haber.
So that's always been the historical foundation. It used to be probable cause. They'd get you out of the car. They could search the car based on that alone. Nowadays, not so much, because there's no difference in smell between hemp, which is a legal substance, and marijuana, which is an illegal substance, or potentially legal if you have an RX. Of course, it's not legal to smoke in your car while you're driving, but, well, arguably maybe that is. That's, I guess, another subject we could talk about. But no, the answer is they can no longer drag you out of your car and ransack your car and search it without a warrant just based on the smell of marijuana, because they can't tell you that it's marijuana versus hemp.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to remind you, 888-88-LEGAL. This is a live show. Give us a call. If you have any questions, we're here. We're ready to answer any questions you may have.
Now, Attorney Haber, my understanding is that there's also specific nuances, not only, but based on the, I want to say the content. In other words, gummy bears are treated different than the actual flower or plant, right? And it's treated different. One is a felony, one is not. And this is now we're going out of the medical marijuana guys, and we're going to just our regular people out there that have not taken out their medical marijuana license yet.
So yes, there is a definite distinction. In Florida, possession of 20 or less grams of marijuana is a misdemeanor. Possession of more than 20 grams of marijuana is a felony. And if you get all the way up, into the mega poundage, you're talking about 25 pounds of marijuana or 300 plants jumps you into the trafficking category. But basic possession is generally always a misdemeanor. However, if you're in possession of other forms of marijuana that are not flower form, for example, let's say you've got a vape cartridge, or you have gummy bears, or you have a disposable smokable pen, or you have oil or tincture or dabs or any of a number of other types of substances that are not flower, possession of any amount of that is a felony. So that one stupid little gummy bear.
So one gummy.
Wow.
That's a felony in the state of Florida.
It means you go to jail.
It's a mandatory booking, yeah. And actually that kind of dovetails into another interesting point, if I can, and that is, we talked earlier, first segment, about the conflict between federal and state law. There are also some conflicts between state and local and municipal law. So you don't necessarily know from one side of the street to the other in the state of Florida, much less in the county of Miami-Dade. In one city, in one jurisdiction, you might be committing a civil infraction and no violation at all. Whereas in another city, you might not. As a matter of state law, it's still a crime, be it a misdemeanor or a felony, to possess marijuana without a medical marijuana card. But in some jurisdictions, like Miami Beach or the city of Miami, they've decriminalized it, similar to recreational, where they've said to officers, well, you can use your discretion. You don't have to arrest him. You don't have to write him up. You don't even have to PTA him. You can let him go, or you can give him a civil infraction, which is like
with the vape or the gummy or anything.
No. If you have the gummy or the vapor, you've committed a felony. Now, look, cops always have discretion. So a police officer could look at you and say, oh, you look like such a nice lady. I'm not going to take you to jail over this, and take your gummy bear and pretend to throw it in the garbage, but really take it home just so they can use it later. I don't know how that's going to go, but the point is, it is a felony.
We have very little time, and again, if you're dealing with any of this, if you've been charged with any crime, again, going into the weekend, anything happens, it's simple. The number on your screen, it's 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call right now. Now, going back to smoking it in your car, that takes me to public usage. And it's very common to go to a concert or go to someone's house, and it's like, yeah, I have a medical marijuana card. Do you want some? And of course, they can't share it. But how does the whole public usage, especially in a concert setting? Then again, there's no concerts.
I know, I was gonna say.
Yeah. Well, but even outside a restaurant, like where does the line get drawn?
The line gets drawn on the one word: privacy. Period. You cannot smoke in public. I don't care if you have a license or not. You cannot smoke weed in public. It is unlawful to do so, even if you are a medical marijuana card holder.
What about in designated smoking areas at certain places?
Interestingly enough, also illegal in the state of Florida. You cannot smoke your dope outside any more than you can walk down the street drinking your beer.
So only in the comfort of the privacy of my home.
Well,
that's it?
Privacy is the key word. So now you've got an issue, and this is a justiciable issue. Is your car private? You could be driving down the street. You may not be impaired for purposes of DUI, but can you smoke in your car if you're not impaired?
What if my car is turned off and I'm in the parking lot of a restaurant and I decide to light up with a friend? Is that considered a private space, or am I going to get in trouble?
If your friend and you are not both licensed to smoke and you're not smoking your own prescription marijuana, you're committing a crime.
Okay, so I basically have to have my license. I should get my prescription for medical marijuana.
And we have very few seconds left, and you had some advice for those on probation.
Yeah, I would say to anybody on probation, if you're going to smoke, get yourself a card, because at least if you have a medical marijuana card, you can make an argument to the state of Florida that you've been licensed by a doctor and by the state, and you're not committing any law violation by using marijuana.
Simple. In this program, we don't obviously condone any crimes, definitely not driving under the influence of any substance. However, we're here to protect your rights. We're here to walk you through the process. It's a scary process once you're in it, and you need to know, because there's a lot of nuances that tip it one way or the other. And it's really the difference between freedom or not. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week, 888-88-LEGAL.